All right, so I am going to film a short video explaining the water cycle and explaining why it is so important. So first off, the water in the water cycle, all the water that we see on Earth, is the same water that has always been here. And the water just continues in this cycle and goes through, but it's the same water that's always been here. The water cycle is so important to us. We could not live without the water cycle. We could not live without water. And the water has to filter through the water cycle. So again, the water cycle is important to our daily lives, and it is a natural phenomenon that we don't always think about, but it's always occurring. Any time of day, the water cycle is happening. So the first thing about the water cycle that's important to note is the sun's role. So if it wasn't for the sun, the water could not evaporate and start the water cycle. So the sun is so important, and the sun's energy plays such a big part in the water cycle. So the first step on this diagram is evaporation. So evaporation is when the liquid form of the water changes into a water vapor, which is a gas, and evaporates up into the air. So you have evaporation with the water here, and you also have evaporation in like lakes or ponds. This is an ocean. We have lakes and ponds here. And then transpiration is when the water from the leaves of plants evaporates as well. And then sublimation is really cool because the form of the water goes from a solid, which is the ice, and it changes straight into a gas, which is really cool to think about because usually when we think of water vapor, we think of it being a liquid first. But sublimation is just a natural occurrence where the ice changes straight into a water vapor. This is because of pressure and different things happening. And if you want to learn more about it, you can look that up. But once the water evaporates and the liquid or the solid turns into the water vapor, it goes up into the air and it begins to condensate. So condensate is when the water vapor is turning into a liquid again. So it's the opposite of evaporation. And the formation of clouds occurs in condensation. So as the clouds accumulate water, then precipitation starts to form. So once the clouds have accumulated enough water with the water vapor, the liquid form of water comes down in precipitation. Well, it can be liquid with rain, or it can be solid with hail or ice. And you have snow and sleet as well. So once precipitation comes down, you move into, so here's precipitation comes down. The precipitation goes back from, it was a solid form here, sublimation. The deposition, it goes back into the solid form and it comes all the way down. And you have infiltration, which is when the water from the precipitation goes into the ground, sinks in, and then you have surface runoff or surface flow, which is when the water forms into lakes, ponds, or streams, goes back out into the ocean. The plants take in the water, and the process starts all over again. So as you can see in this very detailed diagram, the water cycle is continuous. It goes all the way around, and it's always happening at any minute of the day. So that's just a quick overview of the water cycle to explain this page on the website.